The concept of Black Girls Glow is challenging, to do a thing in 1 week. So it's always a challenge. Black Girls Glow was created to kind of bridge a gap in our space, our ecosystem. There aren't enough spaces for women to create. And that's on our ecosystem to create that. But at the same time, we, the individual artist, whether you're beginning, whether you're intermediate, whether you're experienced, we have a responsibility to take our art, to hold our art with some worth, right? And I think it's not just on us to create the systems, but it's also on us as individuals to find it important enough to commit to it and know how worthy it is and to treat it as such.
When we came first and we're told that we have to make an album in 1 week, I'm like, are you people smoking crack? But we've been doing it. And every day we wake up and it's like, oh, can we do this? And then at the end of the day, we've put something down and we've created something that's so beautiful. And it's amazing. So the first few hours when I arrived, or maybe when we were leaving, and up to the time when we got here, I think that how I could best describe how I was feeling is I was holding my breath because I wasn't sure who was coming, what we're going to do, whether I'd like the people, whether they'd like me. And yeah, it was so many variables that were not necessarily in my control. And I love to be in control of things. Like, I don't like to put myself in a situation where I could potentially be vulnerable. So at the same time, the whole fact that I was coming here was nerve-wracking for me because I knew the magnitude of what I was about to do. I was about to deliberately break out of my comfort zone and immerse myself into an experience that I hadn't done before.
Early impressions, when I got here, I was excited, scared, intimidated, exposed, I think. I remember when it was time for us to go to bed, it was a hard night, and I think I said it was because of insects and stuff, but it was actually a very emotional and vulnerable time. I had to reach into myself to understand a lot of why I was here, and I think we were asked about questions on what makes us vulnerable. I think having to look for that, I found it, and when I found it, it worried me. But it didn't take away from the fact that I knew that coming here was me coming to learn.
Alors en fait, quand je suis arrivée ici, déjà je suis très sensible en fait au décor, je suis très sensible à l'environnement et l'atmosphère, et donc en fait j'étais très apaisée. Très apaisée parce que bon, forcément j'ai eu des semaines, des mois qui ont été un petit peu mouvementés, et donc en fait ça m'a déjà mis dans un espace en fait créatif où je savais que je pouvais être libre et en paix en fait, pour pouvoir être en connexion avec mon art. Donc j'ai vraiment aimé ce lieu, j'ai vraiment aimé ce lieu et ouais, j'étais très contente.
It's been a great learning experience for me. I've learned so much about myself, about others, about the world and how I can put my voice to it.
I have learned how to embrace challenges. I've learned how to wake up to a new day from this 1 week, you know. No matter how hard the night goes or how hard the day was, I've learned how to wake up and say, okay, you know what, today is another day. And I think that is something that's going to take me through the rest of my life.
Experience has been amazing. It's been a really wonderful experience. Not even the sessions, which I expected to be great, because I have a lot of faith in the Black Girls School brand. But it's just the people, you know, like I've loved the sessions. Like, don't get me wrong, they've been amazing. From the protest workshop when we had the thinking sessions, Ria's, casting spells, the flow and rhythm with food. Like, it's been amazing. But I think that where I find the most pleasure is in the little things, like when Elodie lets out a random "oh la la," or and Sophie walks back and she's very free, or when I see Nanaya trying to, document something, she's sneaking up on you with a camera.
Mon expérience ici a été très enrichissante. C'est une réponse un petit peu basique, mais enrichissante parce que j'ai eu la chance de collaborer avec d'autres personnes dans l'industrie musicale, des personnes qui sont soit expérimentées, des personnes qui sont naissantes dans leur pratique de leur art, etc. Des personnes en fait qui ont faim de réussir et qui ont faim de s'exprimer avec leurs dons.
So during the residency, I watched Amma a lot, and she was tired, and her eyes were constantly red, and yet it was that the show must go on, and we must meet a target. And I'm looking at D'Souza and how he's so funny, and Cube and how he's so patient. Ria is so supportive, and she will encourage you through the storm, I'm looking at all these people and realizing that different attitudes and different characters all come in to blend to make a strong team. BGG has taught me how to appreciate all the different strengths in people and how to make up for people's weaknesses. So definitely this experience has changed, not changed, but it's given me a direction on how I would want to organize a few things as well.
Et j'ai vraiment appris à me détendre en fait. À chaque fois, Poetra, tu me dis relax, relax et tout, parce qu'effectivement, voilà, c'est comme si je me donne pas le droit de l'erreur et en fait, c'est quelque chose que je réapprends et je redécouvre et ça, c'est quelque chose pour laquelle je suis vraiment reconnaissante.
Everybody has been really nice to me, really good to me, and we've been sharing, we've been very personal with each other. So I would say that it's been a great sisterhood experience for me.
We always have a challenge with, we always have last minute dropouts every year, but we always have alternate girls as well. But this year, unfortunately, some of the girls dropped out literally 13 minutes to the start of the residency, and so it wasn't possible to get the alternates on board. And I think that was for me my disappointment, because another girl was robbed of like an opportunity to be here.
There were less people, and so I feel like there was more time to really focus in on the subject matter and the material. But I think this year's residency has been, I've always enjoyed all the residencies, to be honest. Each one, I think, comes with its own personalities, but I think this one has been refreshing. Also, we're in a different environment as well.
If you get angry, keep it to yourself. Because if I'm working. Are you hearing me? Yes. Because the things people are writing, that you want me to show you. You're writing, you want to learn 12 years of rap in one night. Let's do it.
Members of the church need to work on their rap. People look up to us for all that God we love.
Everything went smooth on the production side. They all wrote, those who are not rappers rapped, those who are not singers sang, those who are not spoken word artists did spoken word. So, I mean, everything went great, yeah.
We have girls who do not know each other come together all the time, and this one has felt a little bit more like a sisterhood than the previous ones, I would have to say, yeah. And that has been the major difference, because it has shown in the type of work that has been produced, it has shown in the type of bonds that have been formed, the type of conversations we are having. It's even shown in how we express to each other. So I wouldn't say it's a bad difference, it's a great difference.
One of the things this residency is really doing is to kind of explore the ways in which we can protest as artists and as individuals, and to see that protest doesn't have to only be in one way. There are different ways that it can be, and there are different ways that we can collaborate, that we can come together to protest. And so I think it's really great that this formed, especially as the tension in this country has been brewing for a while. And so it came at the appropriate time, even though we've been planning it for months, it came at the appropriate time.
The only time the system works in this country is when it's against you. So I kind of feel we are going to get into big trouble for doing this.
The risk involved in protest is always worth it, because you're not only doing it for yourself, you're doing it for the people around you and for the people after you, and even the people who are before you and do not understand the relevance of what you're doing. If we don't speak up, who will? Because this is something that affects all of us. But we also have to hope that our voice will make a change. And even if it doesn't make a change internally, that internationally it will be known that the young people of Ghana did not sit quiet.
I think it's pretty radical of us to be bold and brave enough to tackle protest at a time like this, where protest is being stifled, or there's a risk involved with speaking your mind. But I think that I always fall back to this Nina Simone quote where she says you have to be a reflection of your time. I think that it would be almost sad of us to not speak about it. To have fear would mean that we are oppressed, but I think that to speak means that we're free. And so I really think that for these girls to really take that challenge, to put that even in their music, you'll see from the work that they did, I think it's a beautiful thing, and it shows that, you know, it's empowering. History isn't made by being quiet. I think that it's important for us to use a platform like this, and it's important for these girls to know that their voices matter. It's important for them to know that just because someone says it isn't right doesn't necessarily mean that it isn't right. I think if you have causes that you want to champion, you should, even if the tensions are high, because there's also a community that will back you. And I think I've seen in this residency that they're very brave. They're brave in the way they write. They're brave in the subject matter they choose to tackle. And I think that honestly, there's a risk, but there's going to be a reward. So I'm proud of them for taking it on.
Our lives are supposed to be worth something. We aren't here to be mute. We aren't here to just receive whatever is given to us, but we are here to talk. We are here to speak up. We are here to push back. And so I think it is very risky, considering the unknown, but it's also very worth it. It's also very important and relevant, not just for ourselves, not just for our times, but for the future and for the past archiving sake.
I prefer dying as a martyr than dying from heart disease, because yeah, you have to make sure your life has an impact on people. Then, like, what's the point if you're not voicing out?
For me, it's a global album. It's an album that speaks to protests happening in China, protests happening in Nigeria, in Tanzania, Burkina Faso. It's just, how do we as young people and artists, and women most importantly, use our voice? Because when it comes down to it, women are the ones that suffer the most in any form of injustice. And so this is the best, most relevant time for this to be happening.
After the project is released, people who start paying attention will get to know the kind of, how to protest, for a start.
It's really amazing. Like, the incredible willpower of the girls here, the facilitators, the way we've all come together is like, it's not a joke.